Okay, let's start a new mimer. This is in Chelik Dalet in volume 4, the fifth mimer. This is a Yud Gimel Tamuz, Tavshin Chavtes. The mimer is Tefillah LeMoshe Ish HaElkim. It says here in the note that the mimer was later on checked over by the Rebbe, and they published it Yud Aleph Nisan Tinose in the country Yud Aleph Nisan in honor of Yud Aleph Nisan, the 90th year of the Rebbe's birthday. The Rebbe turned 90, so they did this mimer. Now, this mimer um, is 90s. Kapitel is the beginning of Kapitel Tzadik, 90. So when the Rebbe said this, it was in Tafshin Chavtes, yeah? So they started saying the Kapitel for the Yud Beis Tammuz, for the Frierdiker Rebbe. When the Frierdiker Rebbe turned 90, they started saying this kapitel because you keep on saying the kapitel of the Rebbe, the Frierdiker Rebbe. So the Rebbe gave the mimer for when the previous Rebbe turned 90, and then they published the mimer in Tavshin Chavtes, and then they published the mimer in Yud Aleph Nisan, Tavshinun Aleph, Tinose, when the Rebbe turned 90. Okay, that's the connection of this mimer. Let's learn the mimer inside now. B'seyayte d'shmaya, Yud Gimel Tamuz, Tavshin Chavtes. So he starts the beginning of the Perek Tzadik is Tefillah LeMoshe Ish HaElkim Gomer. It opens up. This is a prayer to Moshe, a man of God, etc. We'll see soon as they're going to go further explaining with the psukim that follow. So the Rebbe, the previous Rebbe, in a Sicha, it's a known Sicha, and it's a year Tofresh Sadik Dalet, is printed to the Burim. He says the Mizmer Zeh Shayich LaGeula de Yutes Kislev. This Mizmer has a connection to Yutes Kislev. Tefillah LeMoshe is connected to the redemption of the Alter Rebbe to Yutes Kislev. What's the connection? The open connection is because on the 19th of Kislev, Yutes Kislev, the Alter Rebbe was freed from prison. And the kapitel of Tzaddik, which we say starts Tefillah LeMoshe, is the first perek in the Yom Yutes for Tillim. Ki Yadua, as it's known, she'admur hazokin hoya oimer b'chol yom shiur Tillim. He would say every day the portion of Tillim, k'moy she'nechlak limei hachodesh, the way it was distributed to the month of the days of the month. Now, this was even before the chitas, which we do Tehillim every day after davening for everybody. But the Nisim, as brought down by the Frierdiker Rebbe, they would always, the Lubavitcher Rebbe would say the Tehillim by the day of the month. So the Alter Rebbe, he said Yutes Kislev, he says the Shir Tillim for the day, and the first perek in the Shir Tillim is Tefillah LeMoshe. V'kivon shehamizmer Tefillah LeMoshe hu hascholas Shir Tehillim hachotshi diyom hayutes l'chodesh. Since Tefillah LeMoshe is the opening, the beginning of the portion of Tehillim of the 19th of the month, Arei Omar b'yom gu'ulosoi, so then at the day that he was freed, which is Yud-teshkit Mizmer Zeh. He did this Mizmer. So what's the connection from the Mizmer Tefillah LeMoshe with the Geula? Because that is the Perek that the Alter Rebbe said in the Tillim of that day. The first Tillim was Tefillah LeMoshe. Umamshich b'hasicha. So this is all in that Sicha from Beis Kislev Tofresh Sadik Daled. So the Rebbe continues, the Friedrich Rebbe continues the Sicha, David Melech Yisrael Hoya Loi Kabbalah, that David, who authored the Tehillim, he had by tradition Shemizmer Zeh Chibrei Moshe, that Moshe was the one that authored this parak of Tehillim. And the Rebbe brings down in the note 4 that in the Radak it says more than that, that David HaMelech found this prayer in a written form, in a note, and they had it by tradition that this was Moshe Rabbeinu note, and then David HaMelech wrote it into the Tillim, but he found it. But anyways, the Rebbe in the Sikha says that it was by tradition that this Mizmor was authored by Moshe. And Kidi Isa b'Medrash, as we find in the Medrash. It says in the Medrash, Achad Osor Mizmorim Omar Moshe. That Moshe Rabbeinu said 11 of the Mizmorim that is brought down in the Tehillim, Moshe Rabbeinu said 11 of them. And why 11? It's Keneged Achad Osor Shvatim. That's to correspond to the 11 tribes. Moshe himself was from the tribe of Levi, but he, corresponding to all the other tribes, he said 11 Mizmorim. So, and the first one of these 11 was Takadis Tefillah LeMoshe. So that is why it says Tefillah LeMoshe, because it was Moshe Rabbeinu who authored this. So further in the Sikha, the Friedrich Rebbe says over there, the Hascholas HaMizmor Hu Hashem Mo'oin Ato Hoyisolonu. Mo'oin means a dwelling place. That Hashem was a Mo'oin, was a dwelling place for the Yid. And the end of the Mizmor, the end of this parak is who, and interesting that the end of the Mizmor, which is the Pasuk 17, the Rebbe says in the note, is B'gematria Tov, which is 17 is good. So the end of the Mizmor ends V'hinoyam Hashem Elikeinu Aleinu. Let it be the sweetness of Hashem Elikeinu. The Rebbe in Maimer is going to explain all these connection of all these things. But in the Sikha, the Rebbe said that Mo'oin v'noyam, Mo'oin, the dwelling place, Noyam, the pleasantness, Hem oisam oisius, they have the same letter. So in the beginning of the Tehillim, Hashem Mo'oin, and then V'hi Noyam, Mo'oin and Noyam are the same letters. So it seems like different things over here. First, we said, the Rebbe said that this Mizmor is connected to the Alter Rebbe. Okay? Tefillah LeMoshe. And then he says that that this is a connected of Moin and Noyam are connected. So what is how do they follow? How does Moshe Rabbeinu and the Moya, Moin, and Noyam? Sorich Lohavin HaKesher the Gimel Inyonim. We need to understand the connection of these three items. Which is the three items? First of all, Hashaych is the Hamizmer La'agula D'Yutas Kislev. First of all, what is the connection? Yeah, he said there's a connection because he said it on the day of the Geula, but what's the content connection over here of this mizmer to the Geula of Yutas Kislev, and also uh, and shemizmer zeh chibrei Moshe. So, and also the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu is the one that authored this. That's the second point. And the third thing is that the connection between Moin and Noyam in the beginning of the Tehillim and the last of the Tehillim, that Perik Tzadik. So what's the connection between these three aspects, the Geula Yitas Kislev to Moshe Rabbeinu and Moin and Noyam? As the Rebbe will explain. Gam tzorich lahavin ma shemevi raya mehamedrash. Also, we have to understand what the previous Rebbe, he brings a proof from the Medrash, shemizmer zeh chibrei Moshe, that this mizmer was authored by Moshe. He brings down the Medrash, 11 mizmorim Moshe Rabbeinu said. Why does he need the Medrash to prove that it was authored by Moshe? But the mizmer itself, it says Tefillah Moshe. The mizmer begins with Tefillah Moshe, Ish Ha'Alekim. So why do we need a proof to prove that it's Moshe Rabbeinu? Because Moshe Rabbeinu authored 11. What is the kavanah of it? And the Rebbe will now explain that this is connected with the coming of Mashiach. Basically, Yutas Kislev is connected to the coming of Mashiach because Mashiach comes when Hasidus is spread out. Yafutzu ma'nesecha chutza, emosek osimar. So, and since on Yutas Kislev it started Yafutzu ma'nesecha chutza on a new scale, that's the time connected to the coming of Mashiach. So now, once we connect Yutas Kislev to the coming of Mashiach, we'll understand all the details. So the Rebbe will explain. Base. Yesh levaer, so we can explain this al pi hayedua, based on what it's known. Geula the Yutas Kislev huschal ha'inyan the yafutzu ma'in neisechal chutzo. That in the redemption of Yutas Kislev, it started the idea of the well springs being spread out to the outside. And what does that mean, that it spreads on the outside? That means that it began the preparation for the coming of Mashiach. Shehu hachona v'keli. When you spread out the well springs to the outside, which starts on Yutas Kislev, that is the preparation and the vessel la'osimar do malkum Mashiach, to coming of my master, to coming of Hashem, the King Mashiach. So now we know Yutas Kislev is the time when the preparation and the vessel for Mashiach came about. So ba'al pi zeh hashayches the mizmer zeh la geula de Yutas Kislev. So based on this, the connection of this mizmer to the geula of Yutas Kislev is not just to the geula of Yutas Kislev, but it's to the geula of Mashiach. Amizmer zeh la geula de Yutas Kislev moire gam al shaychusay legeula ha'asida. That's why it also points to the connection to the future redemption. So, therefore, the Rebbe explains now in the Sikha that what the Sikha said, Zeu shala'achrei she'omer she'ba'asicha she'mizmer zeh shaykh lagula d'Yutas Kislev. So first, the Sikha says that this mizmer has a connection to Yutas Kislev. He said in Yutas Kislev. But in the Sikha, he continues, Mamshich she'mizmer zeh chibrei Moshe. Then he starts to say that this mizmer was authored by Moshe. Why? Because Moshe, who goyel rishon goyel acher. Moshe is the first redeemer and also the last redeemer. And therefore, as it says in the Zohar, Ememela, it's now connected not just to the Geula of Yitzchak, now it's connected to all the Geula because it's connected to Moshe. This Perek is Moshe's Perek, who is the Redeemer also in the future. And that's why the Rebbe adds now in the bracket, Umedayik. So he specifically says, Shedavid Melech Yisrael Hoyo Loi Bekabbalah Shemizmer Zeh Chibrei Moshe. It is David Melech Yisrael, David the king of Israel. He is the one that had, by tradition, that this Mizmer was authored by Moshe. You could say that it was a tradition, but he says specifically David had the tradition that this Mizmer is by Moshe. Shabozem Erames, what is he coming to hint to us that it's David? That the Inyan Moshe Shenegeya Kan. Why is this Tefillah LeMoshe? Why is this Moshe? What's important to us that it's Moshe? Huzeh Shemoshe Goalas Yisrael Megolus Mitzrayim. Moshe is the one that took out the Yidden, freed the Yidden, redeemed the Yidden from the exile of Mitzrayim. Shagula Mitzrayim, that redemption from Mitzrayim, he Hagdama Lahageula Ha'asida. That is an introduction to the future redemption. Al Yidei David Malka Mashiach, through David King Mashiach, because Mashiach is a descendant of David. As we say, that the great miracles that I will show you is like the days of the Exodus of Egypt. There is that connection between Moshe, who took us out of Mitzrayim, to David HaMelech, King Mashiach, who will take us out of the Golus, Mitzrayim. So David is the one that we have the Kabbalah, that this Mizmor is Moshe. So therefore, what is the part of Moshe, of this Mizmor, is that he is the beginning end of the redemption of Mashiach, because we want to point to the fact that this kapitel is, this chapter, this perek, is connected to the Geula HaSida. So that's why we bring here that Moshe Rabbeinu is the one that authored this perek, and it was passed down by David HaMelech that it was Moshe Rabbeinu, because this perek is connected to also to the Geula HaSida. And then the Rebbe goes to bring the Maimer HaMedrash, or maybe as Maimer HaMedrash, Achad Osor Mizmerim Omar Moshe. That Moshe Rabbeinu told us 11 Mizmer. Why does he bring down the Medrash? The Rebbe asked before, why does he need proof from the Medrash? The Pasuk itself says Tefillah Moshe. But there is a kavanah in bringing down the saying of the Medrash, because the Medrash states, Achad Osor Mizmerim also Omar Moshe. That Moshe Rabbeinu said 11 Mizmerim. What is the idea of 11? So 11 has two ideas, the Rebbe said. First of all, 11 is higher than 10. That means it's a higher madrega. And also that the 11th comes down to the 10. That's the idea of the number 11. So, maybe as Maimer HaMedrash Achad Osor Mizmerim Omar Moshe, he brings down this medrash, the Achad Osor Shnei Inyonim. There are two ideas in 11. Achad Osor. Echad Shalifnei Ulamailo Me'eser. When we say 11, that it is the one that is above 10, which in spheres you have 10 spheres. The one that is higher than 10 is Keser. Hu oirin sof shalamaylo me'eser spheres. That's the one which is higher than 10. As we say, ad tuchad v'loy b'chushba. You are one, but you're not included in the cheshbon. And then you have also, so that's the 11. 11 is beyond, higher than 10. Then you have 11 achad osor, meaning echad that gives to osor, gives to the 10. Uamshochas echad, that's bringing down, drawing down echad, the chad v'loy b'chushban, that level of keser, be'eser, into the eser. It's higher, and it's achad also the achad in eser. B'chol ha'eser spheres, and all of the 10 spheres, b'ad b'spheres ha'malchus, till the spheres ha'malchus. So that's achad also. Not only does it also come down, on one hand it's higher, and on the other hand, that it's nimshach in the 10. It's not, doesn't mean just also to malchus, but in a way, especially to malchus. And on the contrary, iker hamshochas b'chinas chad v'loy b'chushbon hu b'malchus. The main hamshocha of the level of chad, the level of chad v'loy b'chushbon, the one without in the accounting, which is the level of keser, hu b'malchus is davke malchus. Ki shoyresh ha-malchus hu b'pnimiyus ha-keser. Because the root of malchus is in inner of keser. The kol spheres, all of the spheres, shorsham bichi tzonius ha-keser. They are rooted in the external of keser. That would be ak odom kadmen. Shenimna b'minyan eser spheres. That it's counted in the number 10, they come from chitzonis ha-keser. But the shoyresh ha-malchus, but the root of malchus, all the spheres are part of 10, but the root of malchus will be pnimiyus ha-keser, she'enei nimna b'minyan ha-spheres, because it's not counted as part of the spheres. The malchus is not counted as part of the spheres. It's connected. In the pnimis hakeser, which is not counted the minyan asfiras. So that's where malchus is chad v'loy b'chushban. The shoyresh of the other spheres is in chitzonis hakeser. That is also counted in the count of the 10 spheres. Because chitzonis hakeser is sometimes counted Keser Chochmo Bina, when they don't count it, you count it in Chitzonis HaKeser. But Shoresh of Malchus is in Pnimius HaKeser, which is not counted in the number 10. So if Malchus is Shoresh of Pnimius HaKeser, why is Malchus the 10th, the lowest Sfira? Elo, Shebegilui HaMalchus Hilamata Mikol HaSfiras. Revealed the way it comes out, Malchus is the lowest of all spheres. Not only is it the lowest of spheres within Atzilus, but it goes down all the way to Biyah. To the extent it's lower than all the spheres that it descends to become a source to create the worlds of B'ri Yitzir Asiyah. Ad Leilam Hazagashmi, till this physical world. But that is the way it comes begilu. But ula asid lavoi, in the future to come, yia gilu sheresh malchus. Over there will be the revelation of the root of malchus, which is the level of chad v'loy b'chushban, the level of keser, primis hakeser, b'malchus and malchus. He will be revealed the root of malchus, ubefrat kimesh yordu b'biyah, especially as malchus descends in biyah, it will get the revelation of Pnimius HaKeser, the Shoyrish HaMalchus. V'al Yidei Zeh, Be'ol Mezbiyah, and through that, through the Shoyrish HaMalchus coming down into Malchus, it will come down in, we're talking about the Shoyrish HaMalchus as it descends to Biyah, and through Malchus, Ba'olam as Biyah, it'll come down in the worlds of Biyah, Ad Ba'olam HaGashmi, until this physical world. The Adrabah, on the contrary, Iker Hagilu Yiyah Ba'olam HaGashmi. The main revelation will be in this physical world. Al Yidei Zeh, Tushlam HaKavona de Dir B'Tachtonim. That's the way the intent of Dir B'Tachtonim. Since the Pnimius HaKeser will come Begilui in Olam Hazeh Gashmi, this will fulfill the intent of Dir B'Tachtonim. She'olam Hazeh HaTachton she'en Tachton L'mata Menu, that this physical world, that there's nothing lower than it Mimenu, Yiyah Dira Lo Yizborach Lo L'Atzmus, it will be a Dira for Hashem, for Atzmus will be in this world. So that Gilui will fulfill the purpose of creation. So this is the two ideas of Achad Osir. So now that we know Achad Osir means to bring down the Echad in the Osir, in the Osir love, then will be Begilui. Now we can understand why the Medrash, he brings the Medrash that Moshe Rabbeinu said 11 Mizmorim. Shabazem Rames, that with this he hints Hashayches da Mizmer Tefila LeMoshe Legula Hasida, the connection of this Mizmer of Tefila LeMoshe to the future redemption. The Rebbe has already established that he wants to tell us Tefila LeMoshe, the connection not only to Yutas Kislev, to the Geula of the Alter Rebbe, but also to Geula Hasida. By bringing the Medrash of Achad Osir, he established that She'inyonei Shel Mizmer Zeh. Now, what is the idea of this Mizmer? And this is Shuha Rosh V'Haschola D'Achad Osir HaMizmorim. This is the beginning, the opening, the head, and the beginning of the 10 Mizmorim. Hu Hamshochas Echad, that is bringing down Echad. The 11th, Achad Osir, bring the Achad. The Chad V'loi B'choshban Be'eser, to bring down Achad Osir in the Eser, B'chol Eser Sfiris Ad B'Malchus, until Malchus. So this is the idea of this Mizmer to bring down the Achad in Malchus, and the Gilui will be lost in love. We can also explain what he continues in the Sikha, that the word Moin, Hashem Moin, in the beginning of the Perek, that is the Mavur Bahadrushim Divra Maskil Tefillah LaMoshe, because in the Maimorim that begins with Tefillah LaMoshe, the Moin Hu Malchus, that Moin is Malchus. When it says Shem Moin, Moin is Malchus. V'nikra b'Shem Moin. Why is Malchus called Moin? Meloshen Dira. That Moin means a place where you live. Comes Loshen Dira, Ubayis, and a home. Al derech, as we say, Beisei zu Ishtay. Your home, this is your wife. That means you live there. So that's why it's the language of Moin. I'm not sure. Let me just see what the note says here. The lashon of Moin, which the Mishnah uses as the place of the persons with his home, with his wife. So therefore, the name of Moin is the level of Malchus. Malchus, that's the feminine, that's the Nukva, that's the feminine. That's where you live. That's the home. V'noyam, and the pleasantness, tainug, hu atik. That's the shoyrish. That's the level of pnimius hakeser. Umoin, ois yois noyam, and the moin is the letters of noyam, hu sheshoyrish hamalchus hu be'atik. That is that the root of malchus and atik. That's the point we just said, that it's rooted in atik, in keser, in pnimius hakeser. So this is the same idea of the 11 mizmorim that we say, the achad in the osor, is the moin malchus gets from noyam, from pnimis hakeser, from atik, which is what's the gula hasida is going to be revealed, pnimis hakeser, in the world, especially in Elam Hazeh. Yesh loymar, the zeh shemevi ba'asicha behemshech, la'inyan the achad osor. The Sikhi brings down, following the idea that Achad Osir, Achad Nosir, Shemoin Oisnoim Ularamis, to tell us Shahagilu de Echad, Chad le B'chushman be'eser eser sfiris. So even though in Achad Osir, it's basically Achad in Osir, in all the eser sfiris. But the Rebbe wants to hint over here that the main place where the Achad and Osir Yibikar Malchus, it's going to be basically in Malchus. Kishoyresh HaMalchus U'Ba'atik, because Malchus is in Atik. So therefore, when Noyam comes to Moin, Noyam comes to Moin, to Malchus, that's Atik coming to Malchus. So when the Medrash says Achad in Osor, it's mainly in Malchus, in the Sfiras HaMalchus, which is the Galus of so basically, the reason why the Rebbe explains the Sikha, that the reason why he brings down the Medrash, Achadosam Mizmorim, and the reason why it's connected to Moinen, because these are all talking about the level of Keser, Pnimius HaKeser, coming down to Malchus, which will be the Gizlu La'osi Love, and the Rebbe wants to explain that this Perek of Tefillah LeMoshe is not only the Geula of the Alter Rebbe, but this is also the Geula HaSida, as the Rebbe will continue to explain the connection very specifically in the following in the Maimer. Okay, we'll leave it over here and we'll continue. Now, I'm heading Motzei Shabbos for Gimel Tammuz, so we'll continue on Monday, Be'ezras Hashem.
Okay, have a good day. Bye-bye.